It's the time! The package from China time, so let's go! Today we have a kind of a boring brown box, but there is something cool in the inside. In this video we're going to do a little bit of a chit chat about a laptop, and not your typical laptop. I found actually this company that has very interesting models, than not, let's say, some boring laptops that I can find in my local stores. The question remains, how do I get it out? There we go. So in the previous videos I did do let's say, talk about some other cool things. But you know, when it comes to this Storm10, this particular product is interesting for use, like say simple use, but also when it comes to maybe some emulation and others to cool gaming. I already reviewed the counterpart, or actually the smaller part of the Storm10, where these devices are overall nice quality, so is it something you should consider. They have a very small overall form factor. Where the previous model was super small, this one is slightly bigger and makes it more comfortable, I think actually for just daily usage. If you don't need a lot of fancy stuff, this can be very interesting. So the first noticeable difference compared with other laptops I've reviewed in the past, that the overall quality of the keyboard. I must say that isn't really satisfying overall quality click. Another option that I actually utilize with this laptop model is that having the very nice interesting hinges, so we can rotate the laptop in different positions. So the smaller counterpart also had a similar technology, but I've seen it with different brands too. And also, I must say that the overall hinges are very nice, with a nice perfect overall resistance if you're going to be flipping the screen. I mean, if you're going to be flipping the screen, you can actually just feel the nice overall resistance and it stay perfectly in the right position. However, you can also flip it like that and just use it for, let's say, watching some videos. And I think this is one of those features I'm going to be liking a lot. And for gaming, we can do some really cool things because I also have a touchscreen. But due to the form factor, we don't have a numpad and we do miss a little bit of an overall configuration with different kind of normal keyboards. But of course, that's one of the concessions we're going to be needing to have if you have a super small form factor. But the overall touchpad is very nice. I must say it was very responsive, but also utilize a micro switch underneath mouse. And I think the overall utilization of this is quite cool. And I like it. The bottom row has the F keys, but also utilizes also the other, let's say, functions like brightness and everything else. But due to the super slim format, we're going to be having no normal USB-A connections. So let's turn this thing on over here because we're also having the on and off switch. And next up we're going to be having two USB-C ports. So it's going to be a convenient thing if you're going to be having yourself an adapter. At the left side we're going to be having the outtake. You can actually see some copper over there for the cooling, and we do have utilizing a headphone jack. So for the people who love to use headphones, this is going to be a super convenient thing. But let's try to get this freaking power supply out of this box. There we go. There we have it. So I was really wondering what kind of voltage we're running now. So we're going to be actually just having a 12 volt 3 amp power supply, nothing really fancy, and this has a USB-C connection. Okay, that's it. But let's do a little bit of a nerdy time. So we're going to be running the Intel Core, so the Elder Lake that is called the code name. So this thing only has a TDP of 6 watts, so it's kind of insane. However, we're running actually the N150. So we have been trying the 100 a lot in different, I say, manufacturer mini PC and laptops. But I'm really curious how far we can push when it comes to the N150. Maybe we do have enough juice to get a little bit better performance overall with different, let's say, devices or pieces of software. So let's trash the CPU. Let's see how hot this thing is getting. I did plug it into the wall socket to see what's going on. Cooling wise, it's going to be interesting because these things can become quite hot sometimes. Particularly when it comes to the super small model. You can actually see over here. This thing is hitting 63 Celsius and it's not getting any hotter. So overall, I must say that it's not bad at all. So one of the cool things I love the tablet devices, you can just flip it and just play these old school games. I think this is just a fun thing to do. Of course, this is the old school Bejeweled, and they're actually made for low resolution monitors. So in this case, we're not going to be utilizing the monitor itself or its full potential, because when you're going to be looking at different games, some of the games look absolutely amazing on this. And audio wise, this is absolutely sounding really great. A game that never bores me is, of course, the Fruit Ninja. So I must say, let's see how responsive this thing is. We're going to just easily swiping over the screen, not going to be putting too much force on it. And I must say that I'm quite surprised how well this actually works. You can see that, ooh, we need to put a little bit of force on it. There we go. But so far it's quite responsive when it comes to the overall, let's say, fun factor. But when it comes to the touchscreen, you do need to put a little bit of force on it actually to get something going on. But when it comes to the colors and just the resolution of the display, this looks absolutely amazing. And I think that's one of the cool features you see with these tiny tablets, or at least laptop tablet thingies. Particularly when I'm going to be playing games that are colorful and really detailed. I must say this is really important. I'm going to have a good display, but also the sharpness is important. With the simple reason, if you don't have this, it's going to be very, let's say, difficult and very tiring for your eyes to actually look at it, because the screen is quite tiny. No, I don't want to delete the freaking slot, I want to play the game. The quality of the display is always quite difficult, in my opinion, to capture, but this gives you a great idea. And again, this is another, let's say, game that has amazing music. And I can tell you, it doesn't really disappoint here. Another thing is like how sensitive, but how accurate actually it is. Because everything is so freaking tiny now. So you need to get like a very good, let's say, overall touch. It is actually multi-touch, of course, but the thing is, I just wanted to see how it actually plays. I've been putting it on the fantastic graphics. So I do notice with the N150, we do have like quite a long loading times. But so far I don't notice any problems whatsoever. And I've been testing all kinds of different mini devices, or at least like tablets and, let's say, laptop. I must say that where some of the tablets I've reviewed had actually like 2K displays, that was even better when it comes to, let's say, playing games, and everything was even more detailed. But this doesn't really disappoint whatsoever. So full HD with just every setting set to high. Yeah, we can actually play some Cuphead and many different games. But let's get into it. Let's have some fun. So far so good, don't have any frame dips. You can actually see that it is hitting 87% of the GPU. So we still have a little bit of wiggle room left when it comes to the overall performance. So far so good, but let's move to something else. Let's see how the other games are running. So far I actually started to just play a couple of these indie games, and so far I don't notice any problems. Cuphead was quite demanding when it comes to the overall performance, where we're hitting like 80 plus, let's say, percentage used for the GPU. But you can actually see that when it comes to hunt down and these kinds of games, we don't have any problems whatsoever. It works quite well actually. There's no way to actually increase, let's say, any, let's say, resolution or craziness. So in that case, we cannot push this thing further. But I do need to check out what's going on when it comes to the overall, let's say, display, because when it comes to most games are actually to the 1080p, and I think this is a general problem, because most of the games will not get into the, let's say, 1280 that the screen actually needs. So we do have like two black bars. But how about if you're going to be adding a really difficult game to play that is absolutely GPU hungry? The onboard is not good enough, so we're going to be putting in a mix of high graphics, and the more demanding like particles have been set to low. You can actually see now on the full resolution with 920 with 1280 that we're going to be having a tiny, I think it's like not a windowed mode, but we're going to be having this very interesting and also annoying white line. So we're going to be fixing that part, but also let's get into the settings. Let's go to the graphics part. And let's set this all to low, or at least if we can even put it on low. That is the lowest setting. Everything to low. So in this case, let's put this on borderless, where we can play a lot of simple two-dimensional indie games. This is going to be absolutely challenging. I did put it on the right resolution so we don't have the black bars at this point. So we can lower to the normal resolution, or at least like the 1080p with black bars, and maybe get a little bit better performance, but I think it's going to be having like a couple of frames. Just wanted to see how far we can push it when it comes to this. Everything has been set to low, ready in like a 20 plus freaking settings, but you need to think about it. The N150, it's still a low power chip. It's absolutely crazy to see how far we can push this. And also try this, let's say, on higher end, let's say AMD Ryzen with a 780M onboard chip that is almost close getting to the, I think it's called the GTX 6050 of NVIDIA, and that is finally getting some overall good performance on high, and of course low it can run full speed. But think about it, this is just like a game that actually needed a dedicated GPU, and we're just playing with an onboard. It's absolutely insane. But what we can do, like it's hitting 18 frames per second, so that's not going to be playable. Let's go all the way to 1280. Let's see what's going on with this. So let's go do something crazy. Let's say 1280 by 600. It's not going to be looking great, but max FPS 60, VSync off, motion blur off. Doesn't really accept anything because I don't want to get into the lower graphics with this tablet or laptop. Yeah, so no, that's not going to be working. So this is one of those cases, 80 frames per second, that's what we're getting. But let's plug in this dongle and let's have some fun, because we're going to be doing a little bit of an emulation. Yeah. Getting all kinds of shitty error messages. What's going on? Compatible, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my Fruit Ninja was still crashing or some kind. Don't know. Nevertheless, what we're going to be doing is doing a quick overview. So if you're going to be turning this thing into a portable retro emulation machine, you can actually do that. With the N150, we do have a lot of potential, you know, and I already mentioned a couple of times now that this screen looks really nice. I don't even like this freaking camera captured this, but you can just see how freaking detailed these pictures are. However, let's get into some games and let's see what's going on. Oh, this game brings so much memories. This is so much fun. Let's get into it. Turbo mode. Oh crap. Woohoo! No! Oh crap, I got only one turbo left. Okay, this is going to be... Ah, there we go. I had played this game so much, man. No, no, oh, I still need to get into it again. Oh man, I'm completely effing this up. Woo, there we go. Woohoo! No, I messed it up. Okay, wait. Let's get into... Do I need the nitro? Nope, the one time. Need to get ourselves into the nitro mode. Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. But let's get back to another game. Moving on to the N64 to see how that will actually run. So we're running it now on not native resolution, but full HD resolution upscaling. So let's see what the N150 can actually handle. Can we actually get at least like some... no, this is going to be way too much. So that is absolutely boo-hoo. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Let's get into the features. Let's get into all the resolution. The next thing we did is going to the parallel 64 emulator. Normally has been set to automatic, and that fixes so far the issue. Yeah, that is the struggle we have sometimes if you're going to be having one image going to be using for multiple devices. But we do have an N64 overall emulation performance. We can from this point do some upscaling. I just wanted to see if this frigging thing even worked. But what I think is absolutely cool with this N100, but this particular N150 models, is that we could do have the option to play all kinds of different emulators that we didn't have the option before, or at least had the struggles. With the Atomic Wave, we can actually play You can see without any problem whatsoever. Man, this music, what amazing game. So let's get into some Sega Saturn now, and we're having 480p resolution upscaling. Maybe I can even try some 1080p or 720p, whatever, but I just wanted to don't go too far with this. You can see we still have some joule, or actually some power left. We're running on 60-70% of the overall GPU usage. The fan is starting to spin like crazy with the laptop itself. PlayStation Portable, and with PlayStation Portable we're going with Wipeout, Vulkan backend, and we're going to be using 6x resolution. And so far it seems to be we're having an overall positive experience when it comes to the frames per second. Hitting the 60. We do some stutters. Can be a thing of the emulator of the game itself, but so far so good. With some massive frame dips, what we can actually do is going back to the settings over there. We can just set it to 4x. And this way we maybe have some better, stable overall emulation performance. Yeah, this one is way better. And of course, per game you need to tweak. And simply because if you're going to be checking out, let's say you're going to be checking out some God of War, then we're going to be lowering the internal resolution, of course, because there's going to be so much more difficulty overall emulate. 480p, that is the resolution that we're going to be using today for random resolution of PlayStation 2 to see can we actually push it that far. I tried also 1080p, did some stuttering, a lot of stuttering in the beginning. Oof. Still struggles. It still struggles. Oof. Minor dip. But PlayStation 2 emulation is actually possible. Okay, so we have been putting this on 480p resolution to see what's going on. I know the N100 had like the option to 720p maybe. But let's let it run for a little bit while and let's get into the gameplay. But the performance is not disappointing. I was expecting the same result like in the beginning, some minor stutters. I'm still doing upscaling, and I can tell you upscaling is looking so beautiful on this display. However, I think it's going to be an overall situation that you're going to be needing just a tweak per game, or just play everything on native resolution to just enjoy every single game without any tinkering whatsoever. But you can see, ooh, minor hiccup here and there, but it's still an overall playable situation. But let's remove the cover and let's see what we're going to be finding underneath. So all of the screws have been removed over here, and this is what we're going to be finding underneath. So when it comes to the speakers, already mentioned throughout the video that it sounds absolutely amazing having speakers over here at the side. Here we're having the rechargeable lithium battery. So overall I say the Racing, a brand I've never heard of, is the M2 that they're using, so you can actually upgrade that. There's no way of adding another one. So the overall construction of the heatsink over here, having the heatsink going all the way to the N150. So this is what we're going to be finding actually inside of the tiny laptop. So we can upgrade only actually the M2 memory. There's nothing of, so far I can see that you can swap out the RAM modules. So another thing I wanted to showcase is that the bottom plate is made out of very nice thin metal. So this is absolutely a very nice overall quality. But let's put this thing back together. Oh crap. But in the end, I hope you have a better idea what you're going to be getting when it comes to this particular product. Thank you all for watching. Give this video a like if you liked it, and it would be great to see you in the next video.